I know you feel it, the burning in your spirit, welling deep inside. You got a beast inside. I know it's hard to tame it, it's harder to explain it. Can't even get a picture, no matter how you frame it. There's so much pressure with all these external stresses, and definitely try to touch you. Gotta push them through the feeling, even though your mind is reeling. The power's deep inside and leads you if you were willing. Got the power. Can you feel the power? This is the hour to release your power. Got the power. Can you feel the power? This is the hour to release your power. Got the power. Can you feel the power? This is the hour to release your power. Got the power. Can you feel the power? This is the hour to release your power.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Power Shut Up podcast. I wanted to actually do a shout out. I didn't do this last week or a couple of weeks. But for those who haven't tuned in, first of all, shame on you if you have not been tuning in. But I did want to shout out Donnie Got the Beats for our wonderful theme song and theme video that he did. We released it, I think, February 1st. When we started off the second half of season 1. So thank you so much, Donnie. He worked hard to get something for us that, related. And so it was all media and Power Shut Up. So congrats to him. He actually came on and released his new single. And we also released this new video and theme song for the Power Shut Up podcast. So thank you so much, Donnie. We appreciate you. So I wanted to first welcome everybody back to another Thursday where we talk a little bit about some amazing people who are doing things in their communities that is making a difference. But we're also kind of connecting it to the Power Shut Up, because I feel that you can use the Power Shut Up in every aspect of life. So we like to put our guests on alert and see how they use the Power Shut Up in their daily lives. Some of them have actually been on the show before, so they kind of know what's coming, but we try to throw off a little bit just to have a little fun. But I first wanted to say happy birthday to all of those who are celebrating birthdays this month or next month. And we might not be able to tell you in person, but we're telling you here, the Power Shut Up podcast says happy birthday. We also wanted to say shout out to all of those who are celebrating anniversaries. This is Love Month, where we celebrate actually anniversaries, but we also celebrate self-love, computer love, community love, and romantic love. We just had, Valentine's Day and Black Love Day is February 13th, for those that didn't know. So congratulations to you all celebrating love. You all know I'm kind of a mushy-gushy person. And I also wanted to say congratulations to those who have started a new job. They just bought a new house. I'm actually going to extend that to our guests tonight, because congratulations to them. They are in the business of releasing birthing a new book project. So congratulations, more to come, but you're going to hear a lot about it tonight. But congratulations to you all. So without further ado, I'm actually going to bring them on, and we're going to talk about what trusting the process is all about. I gave them a hint, Dr. Mary, earlier on when we were promoting the show. So I wanted them to understand that it's about trusting the process, but there's a lot more to this. So hopefully they'll gain some not just understanding about trusting the process, but believe that they can. So I'm first going to introduce you to Dr. Mary, who's the visionary for this project. But I want her to kind of introduce the co-authors we have with us this evening. And Dr. Mary's not playing. So this is only the first evening that we're going to meet some of the co-authors, but she actually locked in 2 nights. So this is only the first time, but you're going to meet some more amazing co-authors. But tonight we have the visionary, and we also have some wonderful co-authors that have significant roles within the book. And we're going to talk about that and talk about their chapters a little bit, but not too much, because we want you to go out there and get the book. But we're going to actually show you why you need to have this book in your hand before you leave here tonight. So, Dr. Mary, thank you so much for trusting the Power Shut Up podcast to kind of, help you to get the word out. You trusted the process with us, and I appreciate that. So I wanted you to kind of introduce who you are, what you're doing, and then share with us who you brought this evening with you. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, I know. Let me go down here and unmute.
You good. You went back on mute.
Okay, I think that covers it. Thank you so much, Lisa, for having us. Such
You're
an
welcome.
amazing host and one of our co-authors who's so graciously hosting us this evening. Thank you so very much. We're so happy to be here. And I'm Dr. Mary Huntley, the visionary of Trusting the Process. And we have some phenomenal co-authors with us today in the person of Miss Danica Davenport, who has joined the project. We have phenomenal forward author, Dr. Jennifer Jones Bryant. It's always a pleasure to work with her again. This is our third rodeo together in this specific scenario arena. And it's always phenomenal to work with Dr. Rhonda M. Wood doing some amazing things. So, to all of you co authors, thank you so very, very much for being a part of the journey. Thank you again, Lisa, for saying yes as well, because though you're hosting, we also want our audience to know that you indeed are a part of our family. And we appreciate you so very much for hosting us. Thank you so very much today.
Absolutely. So before we get started, because we have some wonderful questions, we want to dig into this a little bit. But Dr. Mary, please tell us first why we talked about this earlier before we went live, and there's something that happened even a year ago that kind of predicted where you are today. So tell us a little bit about how you decided that trusting the process, reaping the harvest was going to happen.
Well, before we went live, you and I were discussing, and some others who were with us, we were discussing the fact that a year ago, when you interviewed us for SILG Step into Leadership Greatness 2, I mentioned to you as an answer to one of the questions, you wanted to know what was upcoming. And I said to you, I remember it very vividly. I said, I'm looking forward to releasing my first anthology. Well, little did I know that that would not happen until now, because as I said early on, it's one thing to think what you're going to do. That's one thing. But until God says go, I'm on pause. Because what I know is this: when He releases me to do something, His grace is on it, His favor is on it. He sends all the right people to connect with me, and I end up with sweatless victories pretty much. So I don't want to go outside of His grace or His favor. So I had to trust the
Mm-hmm.
process and wait until He said go. So here we are.
Absolutely. I thought that was a wonderful lead in, because
Yes.
that's exactly what you had to do. And
Yes.
time wasn't a thing. And that's just to show you that, it's not like, okay, I got to get this done within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 months. You just have to trust the process and have faith that what's going to happen is going to happen. And you did that, and look where you are. So congratulations again. So I wanted to move on to, and I'm going to start with Dr. Jennifer. So Dr. Jennifer has actually been here before. And she is a pleasure to work with. So I'm excited for her being a part of this as well. Dr. Jennifer, you actually did the forward for this project. So tell us a little bit about what that felt like, because it's a different experience to be the forward on a book project. So tell us a little bit about that and why she got a yes from you, even though I already know the answer to that, but share with everybody else.
Look, Lisa, look, I've been very selective these last few days on, or months, in terms of what I say yes to, because my workload and scope has gotten much grander and larger. And so this being the forward author and the executive strategic advisor on this project has been definitely enlightening And it has been amazing to read like all of the stories. They are masterpieces, right? And so the benefit and the goodness of being the forward author is being able to read the testimonies of endurance and perseverance and hope, and seeing the harvest being reaped on the other side. And so what was so majestic or so magical about it, as I will say, is that as I read each story, I felt like, and I think I even told Dr. Mary this, that I felt like I was right there in their story, right? Because each of the authors meticulously um, use perfect adjectives, right, to really describe where they were in that moment of time. So I was present in each of those chapters to be able to weave together the forward, and then also to share just a snippet of my trust the process moment, which I think people will be very shocked about. And this is so fitting for your the power of shut up, because this whole trust the process, you had to step aside, honey. You had to step aside and let God work and do his magic, and bless, and just holding on to that faith, right? And knowing that fulfillment will come to the other side. And so this is so fitting, and this is such great alignment. I have to say that. And as Dr. Mary said, Lisa, you're a part of the book too, right? You're a part.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And I want to say, you actually explain what I always seem to see when there's anthologies or you're collaborating with other people. If you give it a minute and you start to hear all of those who are like involved in it, you'll start to see the connection and why whoever is a part of it is a part of it. And you don't believe that in the beginning because you think it's strangers. We all just say yes individually. But once you come together, it starts to make sense on why these particular people said yes. And it doesn't mean that others may have thought about it, didn't, but there's a reason, and the alignment shows up. And it's just fascinating to watch because it never fails. And it's a pleasure as always. It was an easy button for me. So because of the people involved, the title, all those kind of things. But hearing you all and why you said yes is always fascinating to me. So I'm going to actually move over to Dr. Rhonda Wood. It's a pleasure to actually work with you on this project. So I'm excited to hear more, and hopefully we'll be able to all meet in person soon or something. But I wanted to ask you, so what made you say yes to this project, and what's your role with trusting the process?
Sure. Well, first of all, Lisa, thank you so much for being our amazing host and having us on this evening. I'm so excited to be here. And yes, I am just so blessed to be a part of this anthology. When Dr. Mary calls you, that's a blessing in itself. I mean, I just felt really I was in awe that she thought enough of me to want me to be a part of this project. And the title of the anthology just resonated with me so much. I was like, man, this describes most of my life.
Right.
So I felt like I really had something that I could share that I felt like would help others. And so my role is I am the featured author, which I'm really excited about. And I decided I'm not sure if we're sharing the titles, but my chapter speaks about when you're trusting the process and reaping the harvest, it's in God's time. So it's my chapter talks about God's timing in the trusting the process and reaping the harvest. There are so many instances, right, where we go through, when, as Dr. Mary always says, life be lifing. And sometimes we don't understand the why. We question the purpose behind certain challenges that we face. And it's really about being deeply rooted, right? And understanding, one, God's character, understanding that his plan is always the best, and it always is for our good. I love how God is good, but most of all, it's about his divine timing. And when I was able to make that connection, that it's about God's timing, because let's be honest. We want things done in our time. Sometimes we want things right away. We want that instant gratification. But I really felt led to speak to my experiences in learning and understanding and embracing God's timing. That was important.
Absolutely. I love it. And that kind of dips into what Dr. Mary was talking about from a year ago. That is his timing. So, we always quick to jump the gun. I don't know too much about football except to just sit down and watch it. But one of those false starts, and we're always doing that and having to go back and start all over again because it wasn't his timing. We're busy on our own stopwatches. Sometimes our watch don't work right,
That is
So we got to trust the process. So I appreciate that. So, and we're going to go up to, and I call Danica. Am I saying that? Am I pronouncing that right?
It's Danica, but that was close.
But I could, because I actually remember conversations we've had in the past, and you're like and this is going to make sense to my brag book buddy.
Yeah.
We talked about some things and some projects that, in God's time, and we're gonna make that happen. But it's a pleasure to work with you again on this project. Like Dr. Rhonda said, when Dr. Mary and Dr. Jennifer, I have to just be honest, when they get together, it's like there is no. It's like, okay, so what do you want me to do? And that's a good feeling when you actually don't even have to question it. You're just like, it's a done deal. But tell me, for you, and I can say again, I probably can guess, but tell everyone else why you felt like this was a project that you really wanted to be a part of.
Well, thank you, Lisa, for having me today. I really appreciate the opportunity. And as you mentioned, we served on or as a part of the anthology with Dr. Mary and Dr. Jennifer before, and it was just such a phenomenal experience. So that was number one. But when Dr. Mary shared with me the title, as Dr. Rhonda mentioned, it was just so. It was just incredibly attractive to me, because one of my goals and sort of, my professional endeavors, and also as a mental health advocate, is to normalize the human experience. And what I mean by that is that often in our social media infused society, right, we see the harvest, right? We can look at social media posts, whoever puts on social media the journey. We don't put the process. How many times have you, sort of taken 80 pictures just to get that one, right? And so my goal in being a part of this, and I saw those raised hands, because but see, we don't see the journey. So this was a great opportunity to sort of talk about the journey, the path, the process, because it's real. You cannot have a harvest without the process. So that was the reason why this is the perfect opportunity and platform to do so. So here I am.
I love it. So we're going to get right into it. I'm going to stay with you, and then we're going to move around again. But I wanted to ask you, so how is trusting the process, how's it impacted your life?
That's a good question. I would have to say, Lisa, that it's grounded me, because in every situation, I pretty much expect a process, as I mentioned, right? We talked about, the latter part of the title, which is the harvest. Mm-hmm. But in order to get there, there is a process. I have a 5-year-old granddaughter. And so, I look at her and I think, oh my gosh, she's going to be, 10 and then 20. And that time is going to go by so fast, but she's not going to get from 5 to 20 overnight. There is a process. And so when I think about things like that, and I look at how God has sort of ordered our lives, even down to how plants grow and things of that nature, what's in our environment, there is no harvest without the process. And so I've learned to expect it. I've learned to put some things in place to help me navigate it. And that actually has helped me help to ground me in a lot of the processes of my life.
I love that. So, Dr. Jennifer, tell us how this, trust in the process, how it impacts your life. I know we could probably talk about this for hours, but give us a little snippet of how this impacts your life.
Oh my goodness. I think I can share about each one of us, like finding the right story to hone on, because I don't know about y'all. Woo,
Oh, I
like
struggle.
throughout my lifetime, decades and decades and decades, there were instances in which I had to trust the process. And so it's impacted me in ways of deepening my faith, right? Deepening my faith, humbling myself to say, I need help, right? I need help. And so trusting the process is, um, like I said, it's an unknown thing, and you don't know what's on that other side. But it's trusting and believing, like the title says, that the harvest is going to come. Because just like I talked about the testimonies decades and decades ago, in retrospect, I can go back to, oh, that's what happened. That's why that happened the way it did. And you may not understand it. I'm a big connection person. Things need to connect for me. And sometimes logically it won't connect.
That's right.
But like I said, in retrospect, it's like a tapestry. If you think about a beautiful woven tapestry, like it takes time and patience in order to get it perfect and to be methodical about it. So everything is not an overnight thing. And like I think you just said, Lisa, people, or Danica, like it may take 20 pictures to get that perfect picture. And social media, and Dr. Mary and I have talked about this like ad nauseum. Social media is interesting because if you start peeling back the layers to those who portray a certain image, it's not really what it looks like, right? And so with trusting the process, it's good to talk about failures. It's good to talk about times when you had to be resilient and trust the process. This book talks about resiliency, and that's, how it's impacted me. Faith, resiliency, and perseverance. Holding on to those three legs, right, on the stool has kept me balanced.
When you were talking, I thought about, I was like, she must have been paying attention to what I was thinking, how you get in my window, because I struggled, and I'm sure you know this because Dr. Mary had reached out to me, because you do go through all kinds of things in life where it's like I could pick 5, 6 things off the top of my head that I could talk about where I had to trust the process. But I will say that this writing this actually made me I didn't look at it like that. I just looked at it as it was just something that I went through in life. And I didn't even see it as a win or I championed something. I was just like, it's just something I went through. But when I started to do this and I started to think about things, I think I tried to list everything. But then Dr. Murray's like, you got to hone in on something.
Lisa, you can't tell the secrets behind the scenes, man.
I know, but it's like I got to hone in on just one thing, because I guess you don't think about it so deeply when you're going through it. But it forced me to kind of really, I guess, embrace the journey of, even just one part of something that I went through, because I really didn't do that. I just kind of got through it and then moved on because there was something waiting for you on the other side. You don't get too much time to breathe before you're going through something else. But it really helped me to kind of slow down and embrace, like you said, the failures, the mishaps, the slip ups. And it's all okay. And it's like, that stuff off the top of your head, but you don't really kind of connect it to things that you've gone through in your life. And it caused me to, as you say, connect those things. So, and I appreciated that. I learned something every time I'm part of this wonderful anthology. This one, I learned something new about myself, and that's why I love this. But
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this one last thing. When you're standing in silence, when you're
yes,
standing in silence, right? That reward is on the other side of that.
absolutely, absolutely. Then there you go, tapping into that power. Shut up. See,
Yep, that's true.
Dr. Wood, tell us how this has impacted your life, trusting the process.
Sure, absolutely. And thank you for that question. Wonderful question. When when I think about, first of all, I think many of us have probably been presented with the question: if you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self? Right, Lisa, without question, if I could go back in time, I would tell my younger self, young Rhonda, learn how to trust the process. Let
Wow.
me, it would have saved me years of frustration, years of angst, of anxiety, questioning my confidence and my worth, wondering why things don't, feeling like results were attached to my performance. So, in other words, I felt like I have to work hard to do a good job, and that will produce the things that I want. And if I don't get the desired results, or if challenges or disruptions or detours happen, that was attached to something that I did wrong. And if I had known, and so for example, both of my parents passed away young, so I had to learn and navigate a lot of life on my own and figure things out on my own, which was also a part of the process. But I believe if I had learned that lesson, and I'm glad that I learned it when I did, because it helped me so much. It's something that I'm able to pass on to my daughter and my grandchildren, and also my peers, people around me, understanding that certain challenges and difficulties and adversities are necessary. They are a part of the process. And so trusting when it happened, not trying to force things or change results, but understanding that God is always in control, and that sometimes it's just a matter of surrender.
Yep,
Ooh,
that's a big one. Yes,
it
that's
is. It's huge. Easier said than done for me.
absolutely. That's a whole other conversation, because I'm gonna take this over to Dr. Mary as a visionary, even with the process that we're in right now with the book project. Tell us a little bit about, I think you mentioned it a little earlier, but how this trusting the process thing, I'm gonna call it the thing because it's a thing. It's a whole mood, right? How it impacts your life.
In addition to what the others have said, wow, the biggest thing, it helps me to embrace where I am, the journey, to realize that it's not my time, but again, God's time. And we can get a little antsy. I can get a little antsy. Well, why hasn't this happened yet? Oh, I did A, B, C, D, E. Where's F? G. They haven't shown up yet. And God just nicely comes along and said, wait a minute, you're not in charge here. This is mine. That's my call.
Right.
And I try to hear as clearly as I can, because I realize that it's important for me not to abort the process, because when I try to devise my way, I run the risk of self sabotage, and I
Absolutely.
never want to do it. So I just have to tell me to be still and know that He's still God, and He's got your best interest at heart. So a lot of patience, just patience for me, wisdom. You're sitting here, you're waiting. Okay, God, what can I learn from this? Where am I supposed to go from here? I need understanding. Okay, God, drop me a nugget. I'll sit here and wait. That's the biggest thing for me because there's always a process somewhere. And Dr. Jennifer's words, I may blunt it just a little. We're either at the beginning, the middle, or the end, but we're somewhere in the process because life is filled with process. Process. That's the way it happens.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a shout out. I see some of the other co-authors that you all will meet. March 14th, I believe, is the date. So shout out to all of the co-authors. I think Nadia, Michelle's in there. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. You are going to hear more from some more amazing co-authors. But I was thinking about a conversation we had with the plot twist. That's one of the things that I kind of, reboot my head when I'm in that process and we're starting not to trust. The other thing is I kind of, when I see that I'm starting to do things my way and I'm not trusting the process, one of the things I say, have your way, Lord, because you better step in here because I always say, especially with the power shut up, I'm like, he knows that I am hard-headed and and that's why I shut up instead of be quiet, because be quiet was not enough. Okay, it was like, no, I need to tell her to shut up. So I know what it is when you have to kind of, hone things back in and say, okay, let me stop, slow down. And it's a way of kind of unplugging and letting go. And here's the trick part with everybody is that not only are you doing this with your personal lives and journeys, but in doing this project, you have to, it's like double time. You have to do it with this as well. So it's not just about what you're writing about, it's how the process is going. And it's a whole thing. Like I said, it's a whole mood to just trust the process. It ain't easy. But I think that what you are doing, Dr. Mary, and all of the co-authors are doing is showing people that not only is it doable, but it's actually rewarding on the other end, even when you don't know, as Dr. Jennifer said, what's on the other end. You're good with it no matter what, so you can't lose. It's like a no lose situation. So I wanted to ask a couple more questions, and we're going to tie this into I think life is filled with processes. We actually talked about that, and it entails speed bumps, stop signs, detours. We can name them all. They got names to them. Like I can name my roadblocks. I can name my speed bumps. But how can we expect to reap a harvest after encountering such a challenge? So I want each of you to kind of explain where there was a challenging moment and what you did to kind of handle that challenge. What kind of steps, and even maybe a tip that you can share on how you got through that, or at least handled it, because we don't always get through right away.
Are you calling us?
Oh, Dr. Jennifer. I'm thinking we're in a rotation. So I'm gonna jump back to Dr. Jennifer.
Okay. I was like, which way? So, Dr. Rhonda talked about it, right? Like there's so much power in surrendering. And so, I had gone on what was it, a 45-day fast or 40-day fast. It was a surrender fast. And so I had to give up the power of control.
Wow.
And you talking about the power of shut up.
Oh, that's deep.
As Dr. Mary said, ooh, Lord, during that surrender fast, I was talking a lot, like, how you in your own house and you like, look now, like, when we gonna get to the end of this and I'm gonna see that harvest? You having a straight up conversation with God as if he's sitting right there on your couch. So and my moment of time was this 5 year, Dr. Mary reminded me, like 5 years I was waiting for my loan to get modified. You remember when the housing market went upside down? It was lots of negative amortization, and going to the mortgage company, they kept telling me, no, you're paying your mortgage on time. Y'all are paying your mortgage on time. And I just was like, this is nuts. And so much so, I didn't even care anymore. Like, you got to get to a point where you're humble. If you want to get help, you got to tell your story and not be ashamed. And I went to the Washington Post, and just in general about the housing in PG County. And remember when I talked about connections and divine, right, assignments and how things connect? Well, Michelle Singletary goes to my church, and she was looking for people, and she's a Washington Post columnist. And she was looking for people to talk about this terrible housing market. And so I volunteered. I didn't care what they said. Like, people talked about us, like they commented, they said all kinds of, I didn't care, because we were looking for a solution. And I think it was on that last day, next to the last day of that fast. Now you're talking about 4 days and 40, whatever. 4 years and 40 nights,
Right.
whatever you want, but however you want to look at it. And I'm just saying that's when the miracle came, because a huge, like a well-known bank, one of the associates used my personal information.
Mm.
And I said, oh, now we talking. Now we talking. And so it got turned around. I was able to get the loan remodified with a fixed, very low rate, negative amortization was forgiven. I mean, you got to hear it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it was a settlement case. And I just feel incredibly blessed. So that's part of the power of shut up, right? And surrendering and remaining in control. Because while I was going through the process, I couldn't say a word because I had to sign an NDA, and I'm still under the NDA. So I won't list the bank or the associate, but just in general, God will show up, and you may not see it, but it will be a miracle that comes walking through that door.
Well, I tell you, that challenge right there, I couldn't top that one, because that's a big one. And I say, what is the one tip from that whole experience that you would, share to somebody? What's a tip? Because I'm like, I don't even know what
you don't even know, right?
I'm like, I don't even know how I could do it. So I'm like, I don't know.
Don't give up. Like, as Dr. Murray always say, like, don't quit, don't give up, because you may get tired, right? As we all say, we get tired. And there were times when I put that paperwork down, because loan modifications, the paperwork always stacked up here.
Yes, overwhelming for sure.
Overwhelming, and that's what the system wants you to do, is quit. Yes. And then when you think about, and then it became greater than me, because when I went into the Washington Post and shared my story, it was about the citizens of Prince George's County. And then it became about the Black community and how they were prone to these predatory loans. So it became greater to me. And I was like, I cannot give up now. Right. I got to see this thing through.
Right. I love it. Now that motivated me right there, because I'm like, okay, she can do it.
Do you know how many people came in my inbox? How many people came in my inbox? See, they don't want to tell their story. They were secretly going in my inbox. Oh, I'm upside down too. I'm upside down. Okay.
Yep. Yep. But you talked about it. You shared it. And people will be blessed because you did. And I think that's the power. But you had to hold off. You had to wait. There's certain things you had to, keep in mind. I can't. And boy, that would have been a hard one for me. I'm just saying.
I was obedient to God. I shut my mouth.
Yes, indeed. Hey, I'm telling you, it's motivating me. So, Dr. Rhonda, tell us, a challenge that you had, and maybe a tip on what helped you to get through that. We got don't give up so far, right?
I love it. I remember a time, it was prior to the pandemic. I was at my second law firm, about to make a transition to my third law firm. I work for a law firm in Washington, D.C., and I had hit my glass ceiling. I was looking for a new opportunity, and I actually got a tap on the shoulder from a headhunter. I was like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. I was already looking for new opportunities. So I remember praying, God, if this isn't from you, I don't want it. And each phase of the process kept moving forward. So I was like, okay, God, if this isn't from you, I don't want it. And initially it was sort of a pre-screen that went well. The interviews, those went well. The background, each phase of the project And so I was in. Next thing you know, I'm making an offer. I'm being made an offer. I accept the offer. I turn in my resignation and I start my new position. So I'm in my shiny new job and I am feeling just amazing. I'm feeling blessed. I'm like, God is good. This position is from God. So I start working and all of a sudden I start feeling like, woo, okay, God, this is a lot of work here. My goodness, woo. And to keep up with the workload, and this was a single position. I didn't have a team in my office. So I'm starting to feel this stress and this overwhelm, and I'm trying to balance this new position, which I loved and I prayed for, with my home life. And so even with trying to keep up with going in early, working through lunch, staying late, I could not keep up with the workload. And I started to feel like, man, I feel like my work is starting to suffer. Like I felt like I couldn't fully give 100% because I just couldn't keep up with the demand. And then in my home life, my then, she was a then teenager. She's starting to struggle because she's seeing the amount of hours that I'm putting in. I'm even coming home and working. And so I remember at one point feeling so overwhelmed and so burnt out and stressed out. I literally went into my office and I fell to the ground, to the floor. I'm like beside my desk and I am bawling. I am crying. And I start questioning, wait a minute, I prayed for this job. So why am I struggling? I felt like the answered prayer was, I'm supposed to be happy and joyful and enjoying, and this is a blessing and this is great. And I was like, there's nothing going right here or at home. And I specifically remember saying, God, why did you bring me here to fail? Those were my words. And I lived to tell about it. Because I said, oh Lord, please don't hurt me. But I said that was what was on my heart. Why did you bring me here to fail? Because I felt like my prayer was, before I step out, I want to make sure that the coast is clear, right? You want to make sure that you're being set up for success. And so little did I know that job and the way things went down were a part of the process. And so many of us, I believe it, particularly to our workplace and to our colleagues, we want to put on a certain face, right? We want them to believe they made a good choice in hiring us. We always want to look like we are in control and in charge. Hey, I got this. Even when we're feeling stressed, we're like, I'll just figure it out later. But I had gotten to the point where I was like, I can't fake this. I'm not in control here. Things are falling apart. And so I remember one of the hardest things I had to do was to go to my supervisor and say, I need to step away. This is not working for me. And I know I've only been here a little over a year, but I need to take some leave and I need to prioritize some things. I need to get some things in order. Really tough decision. And during that time, I had a shift and not only I learned to be more healthier physically, by stepping away from that workload, but mentally as well, to the point where when my family and I were getting mental health counseling, and I was prioritizing mental health and well-being, I felt like I came back stronger. That's what typically happens. You step away, you get and you come back stronger. And for me, we talk about trusting the process. What happened with that job, it had to happen at that job. It couldn't have happened at the first job. It had to happen at the second job. It had to happen that way. Those steps were necessary. God's plan was necessary. There are so many instances. I love how God doesn't waste anything. He didn't waste my tears. He didn't waste me crying out. He uses everything in our life, every single experience. So when I think about, like I said, this anthology, one of the reasons why it resonated with me, because it specifically touched on that experience. One of the most difficult and challenging times in my life, where I literally just I felt the stress and overwhelmness and this the I felt the heaviness on my shoulders of the decisions that I had to make, and how and the perspective that I felt like other people had. And for me, in the beginning of that process, I felt like I was trying to look to see and make sure I was going to be successful at the end. And God just don't work like that, right? He's like,
Right.
I need you to trust me. I need you to do what I'm asking you to do. I need you to obey. Trust this process and don't try and see at the end, regardless of what's going to happen at the end. You have to believe that I got you.
So what's your tip? Because I know was it Dr. Jennifer said to don't give up. So what would you say is your tip that you would like to share with somebody on how you actually, what did you have to do, or what's a good tip to get through a process just like that? Because I can absolutely relate to what you shared.
Right. So for me, I believe it's the walking in obedience, even when you don't know what the outcome, the end result is going to be.
Okay, so you just gotta have faith that it's gonna work, because he brought it to you. So you just have to believe that, even though we question
Right.
when it gets hard, but you're just, your tip is really to hold tight. It's like
Right.
Dr. Jennifer saying, don't give up, and you saying hold tight, because it's whatever the purpose was, that's
Right.
what you're going to receive. So just
Right.
stay the course. I love it. I love it. So we're gonna do Dr. Mary last, the visionary, with this question. So, and I keep wanting to pronounce her name.
It's fine. Nika.
Danica. I keep wanting to. It's like I'll have it, and then as soon as I'm getting ready to say it, I'm like, I'm gonna say this wrong, and I'm probably putting too much on it.
Oh,
Tell us a little bit about a challenge and what tip you would share on what you use to get through that challenge.
Yeah. So, Dr. Jennifer and Dr. Rhonda, your stories were so engaging. When Lisa, you came to me, I'm like, wait a minute, what? Let me readjust here. They're just phenomenal stories. But for me, the one thing that stands out, and I've shared this story before, is so a few years ago, I really had to face a debilitating fear of flying. And for people that have never sort of had that fear or that issue, it may not seem like a big deal, but for me, it had gotten to a point where I was turning down jobs that had travel. If I saw travel, I wouldn't apply for the job. I mean, it literally, I would be at the point of tears when I even looked at a plane. That's how bad it was. And so I got to a point where, and again, just a couple years ago, where I just made up my mind that, you know what, it's time. You've got to face this fear head on. There's just no way around that. So I made up my mind again and said, okay, I scheduled a flight. My fiance and I scheduled a flight, and I said, okay, let's get on the plane, right? And did that, went through the takeoff process, turbulence, thinking about it now, be honest, there's some fear because it was my first flight ever. But in terms of the tool that I use, for me, it was seeing myself in the future. That's one of the best tools that I use, or the one that really helps me in everything that I do, is seeing where I'm going, whether that be a destination. In this particular case, I think we were going to Las Vegas or something. And I just kept visualizing myself in Las Vegas throughout the flight, through the turbulence. I just kept seeing myself, you're in Las Vegas, you're in Las Vegas, you're going to get there, through all of that. And that really got me through that process. So if there was one tool I would say to help get you through sort of in the journey of the process, it is seeing yourself in the future dating yourself and thinking about how you're navigating things. How is it going to look? What is it going to feel like? What will it smell like? What will it taste like? When you're there and in that space, you're less focused on the anxiety, the fear, and all of those things that come with it. So seeing yourself in the future is what I would suggest to help, everyone dealing with the journey.
That's a great one too, y'all. I mean, I hope so. Whoever's tuning in, I hope you all are taking notes because I know I am. Because I've resonated with Dr. Jennifer's story, Dr. Rhonda. I have been on my knees in tears, like, what in the entire world is happening right now? I had good intentions with this, but this is not what I was envisioning. And then I don't think I've ever done that before, where I've actually pictured myself already there. I think that's awesome. So I mean, if y'all not pulling anything away from this, I just say you're not listening, okay? Which is part of the power shut up, is being able to listen. And Dr. Mary, with that question, I want to end with you. Then we're going to take a TikTok break and come back because I have another question for everybody. But what, share something that actually, you got through, and what tip you could share with others who might be able to resonate with that.
Uh, mm, Boy, so many wonderful, powerful things have been shared. What haven't I gotten through by God's grace, as
Right.
we've already said, because there's always a process. But at any rate, um, if I'm honest, waiting
Mm,
for this project to be released
okay.
was not the easiest thing for me, because it's already been said. I think Dr. Rhonda shared that we pretty much live in a microwave society. We want everything right here, right now. Look, I got the plan. I'm the originator. I'm the creator. Let's go. What are you waiting for? Hmm. Little did I know, not your time. So I
Wow.
just had to wait it out, because I realized that, again, not my time. But it became frustrating at a point, because stuff is bubbling up, churning, and you want to do this and you want to do that. But eventually, in the country, y'all excuse me for a moment, we don't say sit down, we say sit down, sit down, gather yourself, realize who you are, because you are not in charge of this project.
I love
I
it.
am using you as a vessel until I see that you are ready for everything I have to deposit in you. I will not send you forth, because that's how God works. Sometimes the place where He's sending us is not ready to receive us. Sometimes we're not ready for what He has to deposit in us. So until time connects with the culture and the climate, it's a no go. So I had to wait for all of that.
Wait.
And I had to wait.
Yeah, that's a
That
big one.
do no more. I just waited. But what I know is this: I'm grateful for present confidence based on past experience. God
Mm,
has done so many amazing things for me in the past. I don't have a numbering system to even count it or what have you. He has never failed me yet. So, my tip is, if he's done it before, trust him to do it again.
how
He's
about
not a man to lie. He said it, and he'll do it again. So that's my tip.
it?
That's my tip. Trust him.
It's because it's like we're questioning. He's proven
Mhm.
over and over and over again, and we still questioning,
Yes.
questioning, questioning. So, Dr. Mary is saying, okay, well, if he did it before, what's the question? I love it. What we're gonna do is take a quick TikTok minute. This has been so engaging. I've learned so much. We're gonna take a TikTok moment, then we're gonna come back with one more question that we're gonna answer really quick, and also let everybody know where they can connect with you. So let's grab a TikTok moment real quick, and then we'll come right back.
Get in the game, sis. Get in the game. Stop standing on the sidelines watching everybody else do life. It's great to support them, but now you're being a spectator. Get up and just do it. Do it afraid, do it not knowing, do it with no support. Just get up and do it. It's your time, sis. Get up and get in the game.
That actually was perfect for what we're talking about. I mean, it was like, okay, this is it. And she's in a nutshell, that's it. Get up and do it, which is what all of these co-authors have been sharing with you all, and giving you tips on how you can continue to do that. So the last question I wanted to ask, and also share with us how we can connect with you, is I wanted to ask, and when we share some tips and we share some advice, We talked about struggles and challenges that we have in life. But I wanted to ask you all, what does reaping the harvest, what does that mean to you? We talked about trusting the process, but tell me what reaping the harvest really means to you, because for everybody, it might be something different. So let's start with Dr. Rhonda.
Reaping the harvest, it feels like um, receiving God's bounty, receiving the blessings. Like after it feels like a reward for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think about. But I also feel like there was a prerequisite to to get there. Um, so I know I talked before about the surrender.
Mm-hmm.
And I am of the belief that when I allow God to be in control, Rhonda is so quick to want to be in control and want to direct things and want to and for me, I'm like, you know what? Relinquish control, Rhonda. Surrender. Trust that process, and you will reap that harvest. So that's what I think about when I think about reaping the harvest. I just feel like this, the blessings are overflowing. I can't hold them. They are just, this is God smiling down on me, saying, well done, good and faithful servant,
Absolutely.
with whom I'm well pleased.
Absolutely. I love it. So, Danica.
Tamika, thank you. Um, for me, reaping the harvest means walking in my destiny. I'm very time oriented, and I always think where I am now is the destiny that I thought of and I prayed for before. And I always think in terms of my future, I am the parent of my future self. So this current me is the parent of my future self. So for me, reaping the harvest is just walking in that destiny as we go through the process and we go through the journey. We know that there is a harvest at the end, and we're going to walk into that. And that's where that we've all talked about faith, we talked about expectation. That's where that comes in. We know at some point throughout the process as we go through, we will be walking into that destiny. So that's what it means to me.
What about you, Dr. Jennifer?
I will say it's about legacy building. And what I mean by that harvest will be so abundant. It will be such an overflow that it not only just touch the current and present generation, it will overflow to that next generation. And whether it be the words that's in this book, in this, masterpiece of a book, whether it's financial overflow, whether it's overflow in our faith, right? In perseverance. It's going to be legacy building because this current legacy or present generation is watching us in terms of how we operate, how we get through hard times,
Yes.
and we press through with perseverance. So our behaviors and how we model ourselves will go from one generation to the next. So this is going to be really about reaping. And I personally wanted to give a shout out to my bonus dad, who's been in my life since I was 5. He's actually watching us, and he's 91 years old.
Oh, wow. How
And
cool.
yeah, 91 years old. I ain't gonna tell you his name because he's unknown on here, but I know it's him, right? So he's watching, and you talking about legacy building. And so that's reaping the harvest for me, and what that harvest is all about. Is harvesting what you have sown and how it grows from one generation to the next.
I love it. And Dr. Mary.
Wow, what hasn't been said? We've got legacy building. We've reaped. Dr. Rodney's talked about awards, and Danika's talked about destiny, and those are the most very three important things. So, reaping the harvest is finally realizing that I waited and I waited and I waited. Ah, and yeah, I'm declared the winner at the end. And I just have all this good stuff that I waited for, whether it's my legacy that I'm going to share with others, whether it's I'm beginning to walk in my destiny, or whether, oh my, it's God's bounty. So I think it's all tied together. Actually,
Absolutely.
it all culminates in a remarkable manner.
It,
So
it,
yeah,
it
definitely,
all
yeah,
aligns. You're
yes.
absolutely right. Because I thought at the end of all of that, for me, reaping the harvest is in any situation, whether, I actually just got a lesson out of it or I got a blessing out of it, it's the peace at the end of it. When I'm okay with whatever happened, that's me reaping the harvest of whatever happened, whatever I went through. So it's the peace that I feel on the other side of that. So I have absolutely enjoyed having you all come on the show, and I can't wait to have the other co-authors come on because I got more questions. I just wanted to get more involved in it. I wanted to shout out those who actually tapped in and tuned into the show. There was someone I met at the Black History Month event at the Prince George's County Sports and Learning Complex, I think 10. So I hope you're still in here. Hello, thank you for tuning in and supporting. Please reach out to these women and find out what other amazing things they're doing. So before we go, I know we're a little past time, but I wanted to find out where we can connect with you all. And then we're going to have one last TikTok moment to take us into the weekend and next week. So let's start off with Dr. Mary. Tell us where we can find you on social media, websites, those kind of things.
Social media, for the most part, I'm Dr. Mary J. Huntley, except Instagram, I'm author Dr. Mary J. Huntley. And thank you so much for having us this evening.
Absolutely. Danica?
Sure. My website is hers.live. It's HERRS.live, LIVE. And in Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, I'm by my name, Danica Davenport. Thank you for this opportunity. It's wonderful. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Dr. Rhonda?
Sure. So my website is drrhondanwood.com, and on all social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, at my handle is Dr. Rhonda M. Wood as well. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely. And Dr. Jennifer?
Yes, you can find me at my website, which is reachingwithinempowerment.com. And then you can also find me on social media as Dr. Jennifer Jones Bryant. Instagram is Reaching Within.
So I wanted to do this because I want to stay consistent with what I said I was going to do. This is Black History Month. I know we're coming to the end of it. I have a Black History moment, so I want you all to hang tight with us for just one more minute, a TikTok moment, and then we're going to say goodbye. So Sharifa, hold tight just a little bit longer. I know she's like, excuse me. No, so we're going to have our TikTok moment, and then we're going to that last TikTok. We're going to do the Black History moment, and it's from the archives of Luncheon with Lisa for those who remember the Luncheon with Lisa show. Then we're going to have a TikTok moment and say goodnight. So hold tight with us. Welcome to another Luncheon with Lisa Black History moment. Today I wanted to share 3 people who are part of our history who have made a huge impact. I wanted to first introduce you to Benjamin Banneker, who taught himself astronomy and math to become America's first known African American man of science. I also wanted to introduce you to Phyllis Wheatley. For those of you all who don't know who that is, Phyllis Wheatley was only 12 when she became the first female African American author published. And last but certainly not least, I wanted to introduce you to Ralph Bunche, who was the first person of color and first African American to receive a Nobel Peace Prize. And that is a little of our Black History moment with the Luncheon with Lisa show.
Stop hanging around people that only want the old version of you. You know, the version of you that was broke down, busted, and disgusted that they could take advantage of. The version of you that always said yes to everything they wanted and never considered what you wanted. The version of you that always had takers around and no givers. The only people that want you to stay on the same level are people that benefited when you did not know who you were. But that season is over. So I need you to let them know they better get in where they fit in or get off. Because in this season, you're coming for everything that belongs to you.
And for those who are from Maryland, D.C., the DMV area, everything. That's how we say it, everything over here. But thank you so much for tuning in and hanging tight with us a few more minutes. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. I see was Davita Henderson tuned in and showed some support. So thank you to everyone. Please continue to share this with everyone you know, family and friends, and we look forward to having you all back with us next Thursday. But remember that more co-authors for Trusting the Process, Reap the Harvest are joining us on March 14th. So we'll be having some promotion out there, but please congratulate these ladies on a job well done. I think that they've gained so much from this, interaction with us this evening. I know I got my notes. I got to do better. That's what I figured out. I got to do better. But thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next Thursday. The show comes on every Thursday, 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you then.
It's